Yeah, that's a real stamp. Right? Alrighty, guys, welcome to Animate with Everyone's Animator. I am everyone's animator. Yes, we are getting to the exciting part in our animation journey, and this class is where we talk about lip syncing and facial expression. So, in this class, we will take the facial rig we've done for our character and then make our character talk, blink, and do all sort of facial expressions. We are almost at the end of our animation full course journey because this video is the video number 5. Bear in mind, I'll be making today's project file also available for us to download. Kindly check the Google Drive link below to download so that you won't miss out in any of the action. If you're watching my video for the first time, please kindly subscribe to my channel and also like the video and share the gospel around to anyone you feel might be interested in stuff like this. So enough of all the talk, let's get to it. Alrighty, guys, so we've been able to get our animation production process to a suitable stage where we can finally have our character to talk. Yeah, so from our previous class, we've been able to get our dialogue into the project file. Also, we've been able to plan out the necessary basic blockings we need, which are more or less like keyframes. But for today, we are just going to be focusing on the face because what we're doing right now is lip syncing and facial expressions. So for that, before we go into our character's head, let's select our voice layer, right click and copy layers. So that way we've been able to copy not just the voice over but also the duration at which the voice lasted for, which in this case 8 seconds. So I can go back to my frame 1, it doesn't matter anywhere. So I can just go into my character, double click into the character, and then we have the separate body parts. But like I said, we are focusing on just the head. So I will double click also on the head, 1, 2, to go inside. So this is where the lip syncing and the facial expressions is going to be done. And as you can see up here, we have scene 1, boy, full head. So full head, this is where we are animating everything that has to do with the head. So to do that, the first thing we need to do is to paste the voice layer we copied. So come to your layer 1, right click and paste layers. So you now see we have voice layer that goes all the way to 8 frames. Right after that, I can select everything on the page, which is the head, the brows, the lips, the eyes, the nose, everything. So right click on the head and go all the way to where we have distribute to layers. So what that is going to do is to distribute every single symbols into different layers. So once we click on that, you will see right now we have everything on our head, base, eyes, eyebrow, 1, 2, lip, lips, brows, and nose. So that gives us a little bit of flexibility so that we can be able to animate the facials independently. Animating facials for me, although you can start from anywhere, but I would suggest if you want to animate facials, start from the lips. So you do the talking. Then after that, you go inside the eyes. You do the eyes directions. Then after that, you do your blinking. Then after the blinking, the last thing to do is your eyebrows. Reason that is because you need to see your character's mouth and expressions in real time, so that for you to also know how or when you want him to blink, because it's not really all the time you'll be focusing too much on what he's saying. But once you see the shape of the mouth, you can easily say, okay, at this point I want him to blink, at this point I don't want him to blink. And also the reason why we are doing the brows late or as the last thing is because brows tends to move in corresponding to the blinks. So if you blink at times, your brow tends to bounce because of the eyelid coming down to blink. So you need to make sure you are seeing the blinks first before you can animate the eyebrows. But that doesn't stop you from also creating your angry expressions or sarcastic or being surprised. But it's just for you to know that for every part that we have our character blinking, the eyebrows needs to bounce. So let's move. I'm starting with my lip anyway, so I will lock everything else except for my lip, which is where I'm animating my character to talk. So let me zoom in just to see just to have an up close view on that. I can shift it to this side. So the plugin we need to animate this, if you can remember when we're creating our rigs, the plugin we used in order to select everything and put them in single frames is frame picker. If you don't have that on your workspace, just go to Windows. You will see where we have frame picker. So just click on that, it will pop up on your workspace. For me, I have it right here floating all around, so I can just expand it, and then I'll click on my lips. Then automatically all the lips actions we've created during our rigging stage will come out. So what I will need to just be doing now to animate the lip syncing is just to listen to the voice and then click the corresponding mouth shape to the voice. Note, if you are animating lip syncing, realistically speaking, we tend to create the shape of the sound with our mouth before making that sound. So to say, if you are going to say ha, your mouth is tend to be creating the ah shape before the sound comes out. So that means if you look at our waveform here, whatever the dialogue is going to be at this point in time, we need to start our animating at least 2 or 3 frames before that wave. So whatever that thing is going to be, if it's going to be a O or a E, we are not going to be putting the E right at the first wave. We need to step back probably 2 frames or 3 frames before that. So let's dive in. We listen to each voices, each lines bit by bit, so we take it on as we go. So I can just play this now to listen to the first line.
Now watch what will happen.
So it says, now watch what will happen. So I know I'm starting with a ha, with a na. So now watch what will happen. So I can just say, okay, before you say the word now, you start with an L. So let me zoom this up so we can probably just see what it is we have here. I think I can zoom with this. Yeah, okay. So we start with an L before going to the ha, which is the sound now. So I'll have my, as you can see, I'm like 2 or 3 frames before that wave. So I can say my na, then I go 2 frames ahead. Sometimes it depends on how fast the character is talking or how slow the character is talking. If it's an average dialogue, I think it's you need to put the frames on 2s. But if it's a fast talker, you need to go to 1. So it depends anyway. If you're hitting the punchline, let the punchline be on 2 frames or maybe even 3 frames gap, but the in-betweens can stay in 1. For you to understand what I just said, we might probably encounter that now in what we are doing, but let's just move along so we see if we might probably have a case like that. So in this case, the L is kind of like a punchline because it begins the sound. So I need to stay on that. That's why I'm doing 2 frames. Then going to the R, which is the bigger one. This is also a punchline, so I'll be staying on this as well for 2 frames. But for the in-between, which is the smaller R, it's not a punchline. So I'll put this in 1 frame and go to the next sound, which might probably be a keyframe or a punchline per se. So let me listen to the sound again.
Now watch what will happen.
So now. So once we have our now, and then we go to the small, we are going for the whole now. Then remember, this is not a punchline, so I'll put it on 1. Then I have the bigger O, which is also not a punchline. Then the smaller O is a punchline. We need to stay on that for a while. So let's say 2 frames now. So might even need to probably stay on this for 4 frames because the O tends to be longer. Now, as you can see, the wave, there's a gap, there's a long longer wave here before we go to that bigger watch. Now watch. So it said
now watch.
So now watch. So we are staying on now.
Now
we'll stay on now. Let's say 4 frames probably. Remember, you need to hit the mouth shape before the wave. So let's say 4. Now watch. So I can come back to this O for our watch. Then I can stay on this. I think this is also a punchline now because watch, there's a delay there. Then I'll go to my E, the smaller E. Now watch. So now watch. So watch. Then there's another E coming after this watch. So now watch.
Now watch what will happen.
Watch war. So I'm going back to my O. This E is also a punchline. I'll stay on this for 2 frames as well. Now watch war. I'm going back to my O. Click this bigger O. go for a frame, and then the smaller O. So this bigger O is also not a punchline, because it's like it serves as an in between to that main O we are going for, which is the smaller O. So we have now
Now
watch. Now watch. War. I think we should delay this E a little bit much longer, because I think that needs to be punchlined. So let's hold it for 3 frames, so we can say now watch. Now
watch
what
what
will
will
happen?
happen.
War. Now watch war will happen. We are going for we now. War we. Let's go back to this O after 3 frame, and then 1 frame, go to E. War will happen. Then we're now going for the ha. I can stay 2 frames. Then I go for my ha. We are. Then the bigger ha. Hold for 2 frames. Then go for the smaller r. 1 frame. We happen. Then go for the smaller o. O that. Let's listen to the voice again.
Now watch what will happen.
Then happen. So I can hold it on E. After 3 frames, I can do my smaller, the bigger O rather, and then my E. So let's play.
Now watch what will happen. Now watch what will happen.
So during lip syncing, you have to do a lot of reviewing. Once you have the first beat animated, you have to review, look at the mouth, listen to the voice, and make sure you are hitting those punchlines. The trick really in anime sometimes it's not really even sometimes, most of the time during anime lip syncing, whatever they are saying in between the dialogue or the line doesn't matter during lip syncing. What matters is the first mouth shape and the last mouth shape. That's what basically matters. So if a character is giving a longer dialogue, if you start with an ha, make sure you have that ha. Whatever you have in between doesn't matter, even though it's just gonna be a ma 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 ma. If the ending sound is an o, so you have that ha and you have the o. Whatever you have in between doesn't really matter. The brain of the audience or human brain automatically believes it's really doing the right thing by saying the right word. So because they've been able to see the ha from the beginning, and then it just keeps saying rubbish, and then they saw the o at the end, it's the human brain will automatically just connect whatever it is happens in between. They will just forget everything. They remember that okay, it started correctly and then it ended correctly, so whatever happens in between doesn't matter. So but in this case, if you're really trying to aim for a mature animation, in this case Cartoon Network vibe, Teen Titans Go vibe, you need to make sure you are hitting the punchlines. And the punchlines, as you can see, the timelines are the ones on the 2s, on the 4s, on the 3s. So if you are holding on those punchlines, definitely you will arrive at a much more smoother and better lip syncing. And like I said again, you have to be reviewing a lot. So I will have to review this one more time,
Now watch what will happen.
because I might probably see some parts where I need to shift back, shift forward, and so let's go to the next line.
Now watch what will happen if I press this
If I
button.
press this button, so we have to stay on this E for a longer time before going to the next line. Now what will happen if I press this button? So that I can stay here. This is my wave here, but I need to come before that. If then I'll do my F sound. If I press the button, then I hold that too for a while, because the if also stays for a longer period. If I press this button, if I press this button, then I go for my I press this button, and then the bigger ha, 1 frame, hold for 2, smaller r, E I, hold for 2, for the button pressed. If I press, there's an mouth close before the press. I hold that for 2 frames, R and the bigger ha, press. No, let me just do the smaller ha only. Let me clear this keyframe, right click, clear this keyframe, press, then go for my E, 2 frames, hold for 2, then this 1 frame, and then E, this another button, then 1 frame on that, because it's not really a punchline. Then O, the smaller O is a punchline, 2 frame, button. bigger O, and then E. Let's review the two together.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button.
Alright, not too good, but let's try and figure out where we need to fix.
If I press this button.
On the second thought, it looks good.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button.
If I press this button.
If I press this button.
Okay, before the if, I need to do a bigger if. This big if. Alright.
Watch what will happen if I press this button.
So something I need to also let us know. During dialogue lip syncing, you might have two sounds that tends to be the same thing, and then it comes one after each other. So in this case, we have what will happen E, and then it started this next line with E again if I press this button. So the first thing you can do is make sure your first E is not the same as your second E in terms of your mouth shape. So it's either the first E is like a smaller mouth E, and then the next E is like a bigger E, like what we have here. Or you can have another mouth shape to differentiate the two. So let's say after your first E, you can do a or a much more smaller E before you go back to that previous E. What you just need to make sure that people understand is that we have two E's, because if you stay on one E for two sounds, it won't really show that it's a two sound. It will feel like there's a missing frame. So that's why you need to differentiate it. But in the terms of traditional animation, what they tend to do in Disney style is they change the location of the two E's. Quick illustrations for you. During traditional animation, Disney style, in a case where we have that case of two E's as well, what they tend to do is they change the locations of the two E's, so it can be clear that these are two E sounds that we have. So in this case, we might have the first E like this, then the second E can come to be something like this. So you can have to E happen if what will happen if. So we can have those two E's. So what they tend to do is they change the location, so it shows that there are two different E's entirely. There are two different E's. So in this case of cutout, what you can do in this sense is you can also change location, of course, or you can just make one E bigger to the other. Now once we are done with our first two lines, and then we have a lot of space before it declares the next sound or the next voice, one thing you need to note is what is the state of your character. Is it talking normally to the other character, or is it in pain? Is it scared? These are minor expressions that you need to note for you to know when to close his mouth after a dialogue. So in this case, it's just addressing the audience, which is we, obviously. So we can give him a little bit of gap before he closes his mouth. So right after he finishes his line,
now watch what will happen if I press this button.
We can close his mouth right in this part when he closes. It doesn't really look cool when he finishes his line and then you close his mouth immediately, like 2 frames after, then you put it on. People might not really have enough space to digest his mouth shape saying that word. It will quickly end the whole charade that is he really the one that said that thing. So we need to give enough room for people to understand that this is the guy that said what you just heard. Okay, so we need to just make sure after that last shape, which is the E, let's give enough room. As you can see, we still have some waves here, so we can just hold this for that part and then we close his mouth. That is just to note. So let's review again.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah.
So the next one is just an expression that says yay, and then we have, remember, 2 or 3 frames before the main sound. So we can do a yay. This is not really a punchline, so I can hold it for 1. The punchline is a yay. So I can go for a ha. So it's not really an ha, it's a yay. Unfortunately, I don't have a sound. It's a pain sound. It's a sad sound. So the mouth needs to be in a sad position, something like this. But we can still work with what we have right here. Anyway, if you can remember our action pose, the character's head is falling down, so you might not really even get the idea behind the type of mouth we're using, because the head will be turning upside down. So we have then we can call back to the smaller one. for the year. Now remember, this is the time where he's feeling pain. It don't really show too much of pain when we close his mouth immediately. It's like being surprised, being shocked. So even normal human being watching someone else in pain or something like that, you tend to be amazed. So you open your mouth. So in this case, him being the real victim for this case, you might have him on yay, and then we hold on to that mouth before going to the next expressions, which is ouch. Then we can have our ouch, 2 frames, 1 frame, then the O, the smaller O, 2 frames, go back to this, and the E. So we have
ouch, ouch.
Then we have our ouch.
Ouch.
So review once again.
Button. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, my head.
So then say yay, my head. So we can have our yay.
Yeah, my head.
So we can always borrow this yay, but it's just a simple, single phrase. You can always redo that. Then we still have our E for the yay. So you can just go all the way to the A. Then my head. My head. Go back to the E.
Yeah, my head. Yeah, my head.
So you see what happened here now, because it stopped the last line on E, and then we are beginning the next one also on E, but I didn't change the E. So you see, it feels like there's an empty frame there, like nothing happened there.
Yeah, my head.
So we can't really hear the yeah.
Yeah, my head.
The mouth only just said my head. It doesn't say yeah.
Ouch. Yeah, my head.
So it doesn't say hey, my head. It doesn't say yeah. The mouth said hey, my head, not yeah, my head. So we can do the solution I mentioned. So you can just go for the bigger E, or even put an before that. Let's see what this does.
Yeah, my head. Yeah, my head.
So the mouth seems to be delayed, or should I say faster. So I can just select this last keyframes, pull it back, select everything, pull it back a little bit, so we can have
yeah, my head.
So there's too much of frames. Let me remove some things here. I can try and remove this too. Let's clear that keyframe. The ma is too much, so let me just reduce it to this. So let's see.
Yeah, my head. Yeah, my head.
All right, let's review everything.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, my head.
All right, so far so good. I think that's cool. That's better. That's manageable. That is awesome. So the next thing I go to now is the eyeball. So for the eyeballs, I don't think we need the frame picker for that. So let's click on the eyeballs. Let's unlock them so we can have access to them as well. Sorry about that. So remember, it's holding a button. So but before that, it looks up into the camera and says,
now watch what will happen.
so let me make sure it's really looking at us. I don't think it's really looking at us. So okay, I think this should do. All right, so let me move closer better. Look at me, bro. Okay, I think this is it. So we can say,
now watch what will happen if I press this button.
so while it says this button, let me have him look down, so there'll be like a form of direction to what it's saying. So which button? So he uses eyes to tell us this button. So this button said
press this button.
So let me select the 2 keyframes for the eyes, and then let me go ahead to where the eyes is coming back to this normal position and select another keyframe. So I'll come back to this first 2 keyframes and then bring his eyes down to where we have the button. I can do another keyframe to do a classic tune, but I don't think I should do that. So let me just have this snap. It looks down and then it looks back up. All right. So
press this button.
Then it's about to press the button. It can look down back. Then I can select this keyframe, or click on that frame selected and drag over to where you want. That's one way to duplicate your already made keyframes. So I can now select 5 frames 5 frames before those keyframe, add another keyframe to it. F6 for keyframes anyway, or you can just right click and go to insert keyframe. convert to keyframe is still the same thing as insert keyframe. So once I have those two keyframes now, select the two in betweens, right click, insert classic twin. So what that does basically is to connect the first keyframe to the next keyframe, which is up and down, and then there will be an in between automatically. So we have the eyebrows moved down, as you can see. So it's late, let me just drag it back so it clicks on it. I'm thinking, even I don't think it needs to look down.
Press this button. Yeah.
So I don't think it needs to look down anyway. I'm feeling once it looks down to let us know that this is a button, it can just keep gazing at us while it clicks on the button. So it shows that it's not even expecting what's going to happen. So I'll select what I just did here, select everything, right click and clear keyframe. I don't think we need this, so we can have him look
Press
down
this
the curve.
button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the power it says yeah. I'm trying to put my thought in his head rotating other way around, where it says yes. I can just select his eyes and put it in a looking up position, something like that. We can always come back to our head to adjust things, even at the part where we are doing our body poses or even the final animation. It doesn't matter. In this case, we are just trying to think ahead so we can quickly have things done. So I can have him look here, have him look back down, forward, or somewhere, anywhere.
Ouch. Yeah, my
In
head.
this case, he's trying to aim for his head, so we can make him look forward. I don't know yet. Anyway, we can still end up changing all this. All right, that's been done. The next thing we need to do now is the eyelids. So let me go for my lids, unlock, and let's go back to frame 1, and then we go again. For this, of course, we need our frame picker. Bring that down, select our eyelid so you can see our blinks and blanks. So the first part where we of course need our blinks is where it's looking down. Naturally, for humans, if we tend to change the position at which you're looking at from left to right or whatever it may be, there's an automatic eye blink. So if you're looking at a particular position and then you try to change to the other position, in between those two actions there's a blink. So in between, which is somewhere around here, let me have a head looking at us, something like this. So there's an eye blink here. So in between here, there's gonna be a blink. So that is just to say that for that eyes to change the position, there's a blink that covers it. It's not really 100% like all the time, but it's averagely what happens. Coming to our project file now, we know at this point our character is gonna be looking down. So for us to have him look down effectively or naturally, we need to have an eye blink before him looking down, because it's not even really looking cool we having his eyes just snapping down. This is not an animation. To me, if you have this in your animation, it's basically like a jump cut. It's just a snap. You can't, it's not normal for human being to snap eyes like this. Better still, you can just have that classic animation twin we did before we cleared that other one out. Let's just see the eyes move. But in this case, we can just use an eye blink to cover it and then watch how it will make it look seamlessly. So to do that, we go to at that point where we have him looking down, select that keyframe, remember our frame picker, and then we have the eyes closed. Go to one frame before that, select the medium eyes open or eye close, either of the two, and then go again, step back and select the first eye close. So you can see it closes eyes, which is where we are aiming for the blink. So once we are on the blink, which is where the eyes is closed, step over 2 or 3 frames depending on how much or how fast you want him to blink. So let's say 2. After 2, then the third frame, we go back again to the next keyframe, and then it opens up wide. We might not really even have him open up wide because he's looking down. So if you're looking down, your upper lid tends to show a little bit, so we can clear this one so we can still have the upper lid showing because it's looking down, it's not really looking at us. If you're looking down, like if you're reading a book, we can see your upper lid have closing your eyes. So we can have him now. So once I play, you see how this turns out to be.
This button.
So you can see it blinks, looks down, and then now it's going to look up again. We can always do that blink again. So at that point of blink, we close his eyes, step back, medium open, so that we have him close, and then 2 frames ahead, then we open it up back wide to where it's finally opening his eyes. So you can have him blink twice. So now the issue here is the moment he looks down, we don't really have enough room to see him look down. So I can delay this part, so I can delay it. Let's say he looks down here, so then he can look up at around this area. So let me select this part where he's looking up and then drag it over here. Remember that blink as well, I can select it and then drag it over to where this one is as well, so we can have him blink.
This button. Yeah.
So it says this button.
This button.
And then it looks up.
Yeah.
Okay, so
press this button.
Okay.
This button.
Okay, that's fair. We can still manage that. And then for the part where it says J, I can have the lower lead for that, even though the height change location. Remember, this is going to be a strong action. The head is falling down, so it's not necessarily for him to blink. We might just have a sharp blink anyway. So let me just do a sharp blink. A sharp blink, I mean, it's going to be faster. Instead of having 3 keyframes, I'll just use 2. Boom, it blinks, and then instead of opening up his eyes, I can have the lower lead to show a form of pain. Yay, we have the yay. I can still keep that. Let me just go for the smaller one. Yay. So when it says yay, I can also try and do a quick blink, because the leg tends to kick the head at that point in time. So even also the ouch, I can have a sharp blink.
Ouch. Yeah, my head.
Alright, let's watch everything together now.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, my head.
Okay, everything is shaking up fine, and the last thing to do now, as you must have guessed, is the browse. So the browse is just going to be something that will finalize everything. So of course, this is not the expressions we are starting with. We need him to be neutral, so I'll use the first frame, which is this one, and then we have him say,
now watch what will happen.
So watch what will happen. I want him to raise his eyebrows up to show some form of, oh yes, I'm about to blow you guys mind off, man, I'm about to press this button. So I'll create 2 keyframes, keyframe 1, keyframe 2. The reason for keyframe 1 is just to hold on to that keyframe, and then the keyframe 2 is to select the eyebrows and then punch it up with the up arrow button. So once I punch it up, you can see the difference. Then I'll come in between those 2, right click, insert classic twin. So now you can see the eyebrow go up. What will happen?
What will happen?
Okay.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button.
Alright, so for the blink, remember what I said at the beginning, the eyebrows need to bounce. So I'll come right at that point where we have the eyes closed, keyframe it, punch the eyebrow down just a little bit, 2 frames ahead, another keyframe, then in between, classic twin. So the eyebrows comes down, and then once it opens up again, another keyframe, punch the eyebrows back up just a little bit. Alright, and then 2 keyframes ahead, I can come in between, and then classic twin. So we have the bounce. Alright, so there's another bounce here. I can just select this and duplicate it over instead of animating all over again. This is a long thing. We need to save time. We can't just keep animating everything all over again. So select all those keyframes, alt click and drag, and then drop over on that, and then we can have it happening twice.
Button. Yeah.
Then it says yay. At this point there's a pain. Remember the pain. I can now change the expressions. I can go for something like this, then I can select it and punch it down. Add a keyframe, 2 keyframes ahead before that, insert classic twin, just to have a transition to that. So we have an in between. It goes down to yay. So you can see him. You can see the expression changing from being happy and normal to him feeling some form of pain. Let's just keep calling it pain. Yeah. So I keep going to yay. We have a yay. Ouch. For the ouch, I can even still change it to maybe being angry, like why bro. Okay, ouch. So I can tend to add a keyframe to that. Let's see if that's gonna happen. Okay, nothing really happens, but let's just leave it that way. Okay, ouch,
Ouch.
now he's being
Yeah,
mad
my
at
head.
himself. We have the ouch, bro.
Ouch.
Come on, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah, my
my head.
head. So we can raise the eyebrows up a little bit here. It's animation. We need things to be moving. We need things to move. So let's just make sure things are moving. We don't just need to stay still all the time, and then you're not really animating
Yeah, my
ahead.
head.
So we have that. Now, finally, let's play everything together to see how they communicate.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, my head.
All right. So I can come back out now. To our main character where we have scene one, body. Remember, we copied the voice layer. At this part, you see we only have one layer, one frame. So we right click on that and we paste layer to show our voice, and then select our main character, which is everything on the page. Let me zoom out so make sure we're selecting everything. Remember, right click, distribute to layers, Ctrl Shift D. So everything is separated now. We have the edge separated and everything, but now you can see that all the animations we've been able to do inside the edge symbol will be playing outside here. Let's see.
Now watch what will happen if I press this button. Yeah. Ouch. Yeah, my head.
Okay, that's cool. That's cool. All right, so that brings us to the end of today's class. Yeah, pretty swift, pretty straight. If you have any question whatsoever, because I know there might be some things you're not getting in this part, because now this is where the main animation kicks off. But if you have any question, just drop it in the comment section so I can be able to answer every question. And also, I'll be making this project file available anyway, not to bother. You can just navigate through the project file, see how I arrange all my frames, my keyframe, the classic twins, and also the voice layer. Yeah, so I hope this has been able to help us one way or the other to animate better in cutout animations. So far so good anyway. So next class is where we're gonna be talking about body poses. This is where we now make sure our character is clicking the actual button, the head falling, the cool stuff, the main animation itself. Yeah, I can't wait for that. But for this, let's digest this. But remember, you need to keep practicing. Do this yourself. That's one way to understand it better instead of just watching. You need to carry along with what it is we are doing. So that being said, thanks for your time and thanks for watching. Peace. So guys, that is all we have for today's class. Make sure that you subscribe to our channel and that bell button, click on it so you will get notified when the next class drops. So until next time guys, keep being a dazzling artist.